In the year 2157, deep in the cold silence of space, Earth Space Command picked up a signal. It was weak and broken, but the source was clear. It came from the USS Horizon, a research ship that vanished near a black hole 10 years ago. The ship had been declared lost. The crew was never found. Until now, the signal didn't contain any message. Just static, then a steady beeping tone. Tracking systems confirmed the Horizon was back. It was now orbiting Mars, silent and still. No movement, no life signs, but the ship's systems were active. Something had turned them on. A recovery team was sent from the nearest space station. They approached carefully. The Horizon looked aged, as if it had been drifting for decades. Burn marks covered its sides. The rear engine was partially melted, like it had been pulled through something it shouldn't have touched. As the boarding team connected to the ship, they ran one last scan. No humans were on board, no signs of the original crew. But the hull temperature was strangely warm. Commander Lee led the small team of 4 inside. The ship's doors creaked open with difficulty. Inside, it was pitch dark. Flashlights lit up. Narrow halls and broken equipment. The ship looked abandoned, but not empty. The walls were scratched, not with tools, but with claws. Symbols no one understood were carved deep into the metal. A dark, oily substance covered parts of the floor. It moved slightly, as if reacting to light. They passed by the crew quarters. Beds were unmade, clothes still there, food trays left. Halfway used, but not a single body, not even bones. Just uniforms lying on the floor, as if the people inside had vanished into the air. One of the team members, Jackson, checked the ship's core. It was running, but not using fuel. Something else was powering it now. The lights flickered as he walked past. A low hum filled the air, like a breathing sound under the metal. Further in, they found a sealed door near the command bridge. The temperature around it was much lower than the rest of the ship. Ice formed around its edges. The door had no control panel. It looked like it had never been meant to open again. From the other side, a faint tapping sound began. Then a voice, soft, human. It whispered one word, help. Everyone froze. The voice was not coming from a speaker. It was coming from inside the room. They tried to open the door manually. It resisted, then finally gave way. The room was filled with a dim blue light. Floating in the center was a glowing sphere. It pulsed, slowly, like it had a heartbeat. The walls around it were smooth. No scratches, no damage. Just silence. Commander Lee stepped forward. He reached out toward the sphere. It moved away, gently, as if it understood. Then the door slammed shut behind them. The others on the team shouted. The lights turned red. Alarms went off. Static filled their comms. Outside, the control team watched the live feed. One by one, the camera signals cut out. Just before the last one died, they heard a word, not spoken, but sent through the audio channel. Alive. The Horizon went dark again. Orbiting silently, just like before, the recovery ship disconnected and pulled away. Earth Command ordered a full lockdown on the Horizon. No one else was to go near it, but the damage had already been done. Whatever was inside the ship was not part of the original crew, and something inside had learned to speak. 3 days had passed since the USS Horizon returned. The ship remained in orbit above Mars, quiet and untouched. Earth Command reviewed the last video feed from the recovery team. It ended with the glowing sphere and that single whispered word, alive. One member of the team, Lieutenant Mark Davis, had been found unconscious inside the Horizon. He was recovered and brought back to the space station. The others who went in with him were missing. No trace, no sound, no signal. Mark was placed under medical watch. His vitals were strong, but he wouldn't wake up. Scans showed strange brain activity. Parts of his mind were more active than should be possible. The medical team called in a civilian neurospecialist, Dr. Elise Warren. She had studied deep space trauma and sleep disorders. But even she had never seen anything like this. She sat by Mark's bedside for hours, watching him twitch and mumble in his sleep. His fingers moved like he was drawing something in the air. Patterns, symbols, maps, over and over. On the 4th night, he woke up. He didn't speak at first. Just stared at the ceiling. His pupils were dilated. He looked at Dr. Warren without blinking. Then he whispered her name, though they had never met before. She asked him what happened on the ship. His voice was slow and flat, as if someone else was using it. He said they had gone beyond time. He said they were never alone in the dark, that something had found them near the black hole. Something alive, but not like us. Dr. Warren asked who was with him now. Mark looked at her with fear in his eyes. Then his voice changed deeper, layered, almost like two people speaking at once. He said they weren't supposed to return, that the ship belonged to it now, and so did he. Later that day, Mark was placed in isolation. Earth Command classified his case as high security, but something strange kept happening. Surveillance showed Mark drawing against symbols all over the walls of his room using anything he could find: food, pens, even scratching into metal. Dr. Warren took photos of the symbols. When compared with the scratches found on the horizon, they matched. Identical markings from two different places. The lead engineer from the Horizon Review team, Sergeant Malik, went to visit Mark. He had been the one who opened the sealed room with the sphere. He needed answers. Mark looked at Malik for a long time. Then he said the sphere was not a machine. It was a seed, a carrier, a message waiting to be opened. Malik asked what it wanted. Mark smiled, slowly, like he didn't fully understand the question. He said it wanted to learn, to experience. And now, it had a body. That night, all lights on the station blinked at once. Power surged, systems failed for a few minutes. Cameras in Mark's room turned to static. When they came back, he was standing in the middle of the room, staring straight into the lens. He held out his hand. Written across his palm were coordinates. Not in any known system. Dr. Warren ran the numbers. They pointed to a point deep beyond the black hole, the same one where the horizon had vanished 10 years ago. Earth Command was split. Some believed this was a trap. Others believed it might lead to answers. A hidden team began preparing a long-range probe to be sent to those coordinates, quietly, without public knowledge. Meanwhile, Mark began speaking in his sleep again. This time, he named the Horizon crew, each one. Even the ones whose names had been classified. And then he said something else. He said one of them was still alive, but not in the way we understand life. 3 weeks had passed since Lieutenant Mark Davis woke up. He no longer spoke in two voices. He barely spoke at all. Most of the time, he sat alone in the observation room, staring at stars through the glass. The strange symbols he had drawn were now under study at Earth Command. A special team of scientists and linguists worked day and night to decode them. One pattern kept repeating for symbols in a square, surrounding a single circle. No one knew what it meant. Then came the discovery. A technician named Riley was reviewing the old black box data from the horizon. Most of it had been damaged. But one file had survived, deeply hidden, a video file with no title. When she opened it, the footage began with static, then cleared. It showed the Horizon crew 10 years ago, just before they vanished. The crew was gathered near the ship's core. There was panic in their voices. They had picked up an object drifting near the black hole, a small sphere just like the one recovered recently. They brought it on board. As the crew examined it, strange things started to happen. Clocks stopped working. Time logs recorded impossible sequences. One engineer claimed to hear voices inside the engine room. Another disappeared from his bunk during the night. The footage jumped forward suddenly. The crew was now screaming. One man had gone blind. Another was hitting his own reflection in a mirror, thinking it was alive. The ship's captain shouted a final order: lock the sphere away. Do not touch it again. Then the video froze. The screen went black. And in white letters, one word appeared: return. Riley called in the security chief. They took the footage to Earth Command. The data was verified. It was real, but there was more. In the final frame of the video, the screen had shown a faint shape behind the captain. A tall figure, shadow-like. No crew records matched that face. Back on the station, Mark began acting strangely again. He asked for something to write with. Dr. Warren gave him a pen and a blank notepad. He drew a star map, quickly, and without looking up. It was a part of space unknown to any chart. Using advanced AI systems, the station's astronomers cross-referenced the pattern. After long hours, they confirmed it. The coordinates Mark had drawn led to a hidden region, dark, silent, beyond the far edge of the black hole. What was more disturbing, they found a signal coming from that region. A repeating pattern. Not human, not random. It pulsed at regular intervals, almost like a heartbeat. Or a countdown. Malik, the engineer who had entered the horizon, demanded to be part of the next step. He believed they had to find out what the signal was saying. Ignoring it could be dangerous. Earth Command launched a probe, small, fast, unarmed. Its mission was to reach the coordinates and send back data. As the probe neared the edge of the black hole, its camera captured something unbelievable. A giant structure, floating just outside the event horizon. It was black, but not empty. It was shaped like a ship. Not Earth-built, not alien in the usual sense, but something else, something older. The signal grew louder. The probe sent one final image before its systems died. That image showed symbols carved into the structure's hull. They were the same symbols Mark had drawn weeks earlier. After the probe went silent, Mark woke from sleep and said 3 words, "We found it." Then he collapsed again. Inside his notepad, a new phrase appeared at the bottom of the page. Written in his own handwriting, but shakier than before. It watches back. The image from the probe had shocked Earth Command. A black structure, just outside the event horizon, shaped like a ship, but not built by any known species. The symbols on it matched those from the horizon and from Lieutenant Mark's drawings. There was no longer any doubt. Something had brought the horizon back for a reason. A special mission was approved in secret. Only the top members of Earth Command, a small crew, and Dr. Elise Warren knew the full plan. They were going to send a manned ship to those coordinates. The public was told it was a long-range science test. But everyone on board the mission knew this was more than science. The new ship, named the Argo, was smaller than the Horizon, but faster and equipped with new shielding. The crew was carefully chosen: scientists, engineers, a linguist, and 2 security officers. Malik joined the team again. He had been closest to the sphere. Some believed he could sense what might come. Mark was not allowed on the mission, but before the Argo launched, he asked to see Malik one last time. They spoke in private. When Malik came out, his face had changed. He didn't say what Mark told him, only that they would need to be ready for something they wouldn't understand. The Argo launched from Earth's orbit and began the long trip to the black hole. It took 20 days to reach the outer edge of the system. As they drew closer, the crew began experiencing strange things. Time moved differently. Clocks drifted. Short naps felt like hours. Some saw flashes of light outside the windows, like someone watching from the dark. Finally, the black hole came into view. Floating near it, half hidden in shadow, was the structure seen in the probe footage. It was massive, dark, silent, shaped like a ship, but with no engines, no lights. It looked dead. But the signal from it was still active, calling softly in the background. They scanned the surface. A single entry point was found: an open hatch, large enough for the Argo's shuttle. The crew suited up and entered. Inside, they found walls made of a smooth, black metal that reflected their lights, but not their images. There were no buttons, no wires, no tools. The walls themselves seemed alive, changing slightly when touched. The air was breathable, but cold, too cold. Their suits protected them, but the temperature dropped with every step. They split into 2 teams. Malik led one group. Dr. Warren led the other. Her team found a chamber filled with symbols. Some carved, others glowing faintly on the walls. She used a scanner to capture them, but the scanner started glitching. As she looked closer, she realized the symbols were shifting shape, rearranging themselves. Malik's group found something else. A central room with a tall, mirror-like surface. Standing in the center. It was not glass, it showed reflections, but they were wrong. One team member, Arjun, looked into it and saw himself, but older, with different scars. Then his reflection moved on its own. It raised its hand before Arjun did. It smiled. Arjun backed away quickly, breathing hard. The reflection did not disappear. Malik took a step forward. He asked if anyone else saw the same thing. Only Arjun nodded. The other saw nothing at all. The mirror had chosen one. They received a message from Dr. Warren's group. A quiet hum was building up through the floor, like the whole structure was waking up. As they tried to regroup, one of the crew, Emily, heard something. A whisper calling her name. She followed the sound into a side corridor. The lights faded behind her. Her voice came through the comms, asking who was there. Then she screamed. By the time Malik's team found the hallway, Emily was gone. Her helmet was on the floor. No sign of a struggle. Just a trail of faint glowing dust that led into a dark wall and stopped. The crew called for emergency return. As they exited the structure, the hatch closed behind them. Back on the Argo, they found a new problem. A line of symbols had appeared inside the ship, just above the control panel. None of them had written it. When Moloch looked at the pattern, he quietly said 3 words. It followed us. The Argo turned away from the structure and began its return flight. The crew said nothing at first. No one could explain what had happened inside. Emily was gone. Her voice never returned on comms. Her signal vanished without warning. Moloch sat in the control chair, silent. He couldn't stop looking at the symbols now burned into the ship's walls. They hadn't just followed them, they had marked them. Dr. Warren tried to analyze the symbols again. But this time, when she ran them through the translator, the letters didn't stay still. They changed every time she blinked. One pattern kept showing up in between for circles inside a larger shape. It looked like a seed or a gate. She stopped running tests. She started hearing voices too. The crew began experiencing strange side effects. Some heard knocking sounds behind the walls. Others saw lights moving through the hall at night. One crew member, Sophia, claimed she saw Emily walking outside the window without a suit, smiling. Sophia stopped sleeping after that. She stayed in her room with the lights on. 2 days later, she vanished. Her bed was empty. Her tracker still showed her on board, but no one could find her. The ship's log started to change. Data from the mission began rewriting itself. Old audio clips played back in different voices. The navigation system now showed 2 destinations. One was Earth. The other had no name, just black space. Moloch made a decision. He locked the ship's course back to Earth manually. Then he shut down all AI systems. Nothing from the structure would control their way home. But the damage had already been done. Dr. Warren discovered that time was no longer moving at the same speed. Internal clocks and their own body cycles didn't match. 1 hour of sleep felt like days. Sometimes, they lost entire minutes without noticing. Conversations would jump. Memories wouldn't line up. On the 3rd night, the crew gathered for a meeting. Only 4 were left now: Moloch, Warren, Arjun, and Devon, the pilot. They agreed to stop exploring the ship's systems and keep communication with Earth short. But during that meeting, a new alert appeared on the screen. The Argo's outer cameras had picked up something in deep space just behind them. A shape was following the ship. It looked like the structure from before, but smaller, closer, and it was matching their speed exactly. Devon turned the ship's rear thrusters to maximum. The shape kept following. No change in distance. No response to signals. No sound. Then, the lights on the Argo flickered. Red emergency lights activated. A message appeared on every screen at once. You brought it back. Moloch ran to the engine room to check for breaches. Nothing had entered, but the lights in that part of the ship stayed off, no matter what he did. In the reflection of the broken engine panel, he saw movement behind him, a tall figure. It stepped closer, but when he turned around, nothing was there. Meanwhile, Dr. Warren opened her notebook. She hadn't written in it for 2 days, but now, it had pages filled with new text. Her handwriting, her voice, describing things she didn't remember doing. Notes about the structure. About another version of the Argo, a mirror ship. It wasn't just following them. It was copying them. Arjun checked the main sensors. He found a strange echo in the system. The Argo had a twin and exact replica traveling alongside them, invisible to the eye, but showing in the ship's data. Every time they adjusted speed or direction, the twin copied it perfectly. Devon ran a quick internal scan. The ship now had 5 active life forms. Only 4 crew members remained. They searched the Argo from top to bottom. Every room, every wall, nothing. No sign of a 5th person. Then Moloch asked a question no one wanted to hear. What if the 5th isn't a person? The lights flickered again. At the same time, the structure behind them vanished from camera view, but the life form count stayed the same. The Argo continued on its path back to Earth. The unknown 5th life form remained on the sensors. It didn't move, didn't speak, and couldn't be found. Yet the crew could feel it, in the walls, in their minds. Dr. Warren stopped sleeping. She sat in the ship's lab, reviewing her notebook again and again. Every time she looked, more pages were filled with writing she didn't remember. It wasn't just notes anymore. It was a message: "We're not alone, we never were." They wait in the dark between stars. On Earth, things were starting to change. Satellite feeds glitched. Deep space telescopes picked up sudden blackouts, entire sections of the sky going dark, then coming back. Communication systems across the globe had short failures, always at the same time. No one connected these events to the horizon at first. Then Mark Davis woke up again. This time, his eyes were completely black. No color, no reaction to light. He stood up without help. The doctors rushed to him, but he said nothing. He walked to the main terminal, placed his hand on the screen, and it turned on without power. A signal was sent from the system, a strong one, directly to deep space. When they tried to stop him, Mark spoke one sentence. "It is already here." Back on the Argo, Malik noticed something strange in the air pressure readings. One corridor had a pressure shift, like someone was breathing inside, but no one was there. Arjun and Devin went to check it out. They moved slowly, weapons ready, lights flickering. They reached the corridor and found a door half open. Devin stepped inside first. The room looked normal. Then the walls began to shift. Slowly, the entire space changed shape, turning into the same room they had seen inside the alien structure. Same mirror, same darkness. In the reflection, Devin saw his own face. But behind him stood Emily. She whispered his name. Her mouth didn't move. Devin froze. Arjun pulled him back, slamming the door shut. The wall behind them pulsed once, then returned to normal metal. Back at the bridge, Dr. Warren had figured something out. The fifth life form was not in one place. It was moving through the ship slowly, hiding in reflections, in shadows, in memory. She turned on a low-frequency scan. It detected slight shifts across every hallway. Like something brushing against space itself, they watched it move closer to the engine room. That's when power dropped. Emergency lights came on. Doors locked, and a sound echoed through the ship. Not human. Not machine. A low, slow breathing. Malik moved to the control panel. The ship had changed course. It was no longer heading to Earth directly. It was taking a new path, one that looped around the moon first. They tried to override it. Nothing worked. Every time they changed it, the course reset itself. Then something worse happened. Earth Command received a new transmission. But it wasn't from the Argo. It came from the horizon. The ship that was still in orbit near Mars. The horizon had been silent for weeks. Now it was sending a full data stream. Files, images, messages. One message was repeated again and again. "Open the way." Earth Command sent a small drone to scan the horizon again. What they saw left them silent. The glowing sphere was gone. The recovery ship they had docked there weeks ago was also gone. Instead, something else floated in the center of the ship. A tall structure, pulsing with faint red light. It looked like a doorway. Inside it, shapes moved. Not people. Not machines. Something in between. The Argo moved closer to Earth, but the crew could feel it was no longer just their ship. The fifth presence was stronger now. Doors opened on their own. Lights dimmed when they spoke. Reflections no longer matched their movements. Dr. Warren locked herself in the lab, searching for answers. She reviewed everything: the symbols, the changing star maps, the writing in her notebook. One message repeated again and again. It wants to go back. The thing that came from the black hole wasn't here to attack. It had no war to fight. It had no face, no name. It only wanted to return to where it came from. But the way back was closed, and Earth was in the way. On the ship's final approach, Earth Command tried to contact the Argo, but the signal was jammed. Something inside the ship was blocking all transmissions. Malik and Arjun powered up the escape shuttle. They planned to eject the ship's core disconnected before they reached Earth's orbit. It was a risk, but if the Argo reached the planet, no one knew what would happen next. As they prepared the override, the fifth life form made itself known. The ship's lights all turned off at once. The backup generator failed. Only the bridge remained lit, and the mirror returned. It stood in the center of the room, glowing softly. Everyone saw someone different in the reflection. Dr. Warren saw herself as a child, lost in a field of stars. Arjun saw his father, long dead. Malik saw Emily. She looked at him and spoke his name. Only this time, it wasn't a vision. She stepped out of the mirror. But it wasn't Emily. It wore her face, her voice, her memories. But behind her eyes, something else looked out, cold, empty. "Curious," she said one sentence. "You cannot close the way. Moloch fired the emergency thrusters manually. The ship shook hard, enough to throw everyone off balance. He shouted at Dr. Warren to activate the core eject sequence. She hesitated. The creature stepped closer, still wearing Emily's voice. If you send it back, you come with it. Moloch looked at the countdown. 20 seconds. He didn't blink. He told Warren to run to the shuttle. She refused. They both knew what had to be done. The ship's core began to separate. The engine sparked. The lights exploded in a wave of static. Moloch stayed at the controls, watching the black shape behind Emily move forward again. It stretched, cracking the air around it, trying to escape. The Argo's core dropped into space. The shuttle launched seconds later, spinning away from the explosion. Dr. Warren and Arjun watched from the window as the Argo burned in the upper atmosphere, just above Earth. But something else happened. At the same moment, the horizon near Mars vanished. Not destroyed, just gone, as if it had never been there. The signal stopped. The structure near the black hole blinked out too. Telescopes recorded a moment of light, then silence. The black space returned to normal. Back on Earth, systems restored. No more glitches, no more echoes, no more signals. Lieutenant Mark Davis opened his eyes one final time. And said nothing. He was empty. His vitals were normal. His brain was quiet. Whatever had been inside him was gone. Dr. Warren later wrote a final report. She said they hadn't discovered something alien. They had touched something older than time. Not an enemy, not a friend. Just a passenger, a being looking for a way home, using humans as the door.